This is not the church of Joseph Smith.
Wingoodsill. Man, I am just getting more and more pissed the more I do research into what's going on. On the LDS Church website, they now have a section for life help, employment in the COVID-19 pandemic. Man, I want to rip some heads off right now. And of course, they don't put a name attached to this article, and I can tell it's a psychiatrist. Let me explain. In this changing economy, notice the wording they're using here. Changing economy? This is a national crisis, a worldwide pandemic. It's not a changing economy. F you. Unemployment is a real challenge that many are facing. Oh, challenge. Is that what you're wanting to call it? See how they're being sensitive? These are the same exact people who mock those for being sensitive as a white supremacist tactic. And here we go. Remember Mick Mulvaney and his famous words? We do it all the time. Get over it. Dealing with unemployment. Get over it. Deal with it. Can be difficult. Again, they're minimizing what's going on. This is supposed to help Mormons who are unemployed because of the virus. And here they are trying to pacify, flatter, deceive, and say that all is well in Zion. You Mormons know exactly where that's from and what that's referring to. Oh, and you may feel. Again, another trigger of psychiatrists. Tell me about how you're feeling right now. Because you're sensitive. We need to drug you, sedate you. Because you're letting your emotions get away with you. You're not dealing with it. And the changes that are difficult. See, this is all a distraction, blaming victims rather than blaming the cause. And the cause is the government, businesses, and the church. They won't talk about that because this is a church website. And now they throw in the mystical nonsense. Heavenly Father is aware of you. And interested in all aspects of your life, including your employment. Oh, we just got fired because of Nelson shutting down the church and Welfare Square, leaving us to ourselves to suffer. See how they're turning it around? Even Heavenly Father blames you for being unemployed and wants you back to work. Turn to Him. Ask Him for help. And take hope in trusting that the job opportunities will arrive for you. Sort of magically, like the fast had the coronavirus disappear. Do you see why they don't put a name to this? And they get a real ass whipping. It's unbelievable. In 2011, Russia was holding elections. Putin was trying to get into power. Putin blamed America for tampering with their election. In 2012, America had their presidential elections. Remember, Putin blamed America. Mitt Romney ran for president that year. If you're unfamiliar with that, as I was, because the church had me disappeared during that period of time. But you can still see the effects of it. There are the Google images that were altered. I've forgotten what they're called. Photoshopped, I guess is what it is, of Mitt and his wife in magic underwear. He was Mormon, running for president. I'd rather be Russian than vote a Mormon. I don't know if they had those chants going back then like they did for Hillary. I'd rather be Russian than vote Democrat. And people wonder about whether Russia was interfering in our 2016 election. And it's obvious, and people just say, ugh. Then 2013, Sister Nelson in the youth fireside with her husband, who was now president of the church in 2018, that summer, talked about their trip to Russia in 2013, right after Putin gets elected president. So they have to stay somewhere, don't they? You familiar what Putin's Russia converted things to with regards to surveillance? All hotels video monitored. That's where the P-tape came from for Trump. It's because there is a tape, whether it's the hookers peeing on the bed for Trump, I don't know, but there is a tape with Trump. I mean, at worst case scenario, it's 14-year-old girls for his beauty pageant. But we don't know. And homes were secretly installed with surveillance cameras as people were getting framed in Russia, who were targeted for framing. It was called the honey trap. And no, they did not give actual honey. No money, no honey. In Tijuana, I've told you this before in another video, as a teenage boy in the priest quorum advisor took us down to Mexico to drop off some clothes, and there were coochie shops. That's what I refer to them as, is the guy out front trying to get people to come into the clay brick building. Say coochie. And so the priest quorum advisor had to speak Spanish to him to say, no, these are religion. These are underage boys. Stay away. And so, do you honestly think that Nelson and his wife would be untouched, as Putin is furious with America, blaming America for interfering in their election in 2011? And then you have Mitt Romney, Mormon, running for the American president. And Romney, back in that day, was saying Russia is our greatest threat. And then an apostle back then, in 2013, comes to Russia. And you honestly think that Putin, Mr. KGB trained, who is known for having set up surveillance systems everywhere and monitoring everyone, especially those of high profile who come into his country, and you don't think he's got a videotape of them? And even if they do nothing, even if Nelson was a good boy and stayed away from the coochies, or in Russia, what do they call them in Russia? I guess there's been Red Sparrow and other movies about women being used for espionage who are such and such. But Maria Butina, remember her? The American spy from Russia. She's back in Russia and she's a heroine. Because what she did to America, she brought down the NRA and made contact with the American president-elect. You don't think there's more here in America still? I don't know if I told you this. That day I remember it was pretty hectic. There was lots of other videos. But going grocery shopping down at the Smiths, the Kroger store, and I'm over to get my orange juice for the week, and I hear this lady talking on the phone. And it's not Spanish. It's Russian. And I look over at her, and she sees that I look over at her, and she then looks back or looks elsewhere as she continues to talk in Russian. And I'm giving her the, oh yeah, Russian, huh? Just happen to be right where I am, and you're speaking Russian at my grocery store here in West Valley. Well, I guess it's not. It's Taylorsville, maybe, in that area. The boundaries are all weird. So we have Russians here in Utah. And you can tell Russian from Spanish. They're very distinctive. And yeah, she didn't look Spanish either. She was an older, mature woman. So she could have been from the days of the Americans. That was that HBO or Showtime that did that series? Anyway. Yeah, back in the 80s, Russian spies had infiltrated America and were activated during that time period during Reagan. And the show Americans was about that, creating a fictional story based on the actual people. And so, yeah, we didn't get them all out. And then Maria Butina comes in and does coochie with the NRA. And the National Prayer Breakfast, where the church had sent Christofferson to. And after they had gotten their deal for the temple, guess who they sent there afterward? They didn't send a man, they sent the Relief Society presidency. They gave the prayer for that breakfast thereafter. And so, yeah, Nelson, his first assignment for conference takes away the high priest group, takes away home teaching, and says, hey, we've been working with the Russians. We've made a deal. We've done them a favor, though, so that we can get a temple in Russia. Where is that temple, by the way? I guess we haven't finished doing them a favor. That's how they work and operate. You don't do business in Russia unless you do them a favor. And if you refuse to do them a favor, they have dirt on you. Whether you got caught on camera, or whether they have to doctor the camera to Photoshop you in your magic underwear, like Mitt Romney. And so, yeah, I'm kind of wondering if I'll be treated as nicely if I were to have ever gotten popular. This lawsuit was supposed to have done it, and so I was expecting photoshopped images of me to appear everywhere. And I was hoping that they would be generous to me rather than mean. But, well, anyway. Hopefully people understand that it's photoshopped, or now they have the deep fakes where the video is actually altered with your image on it. And even your voice too, I guess. Because they can take your voice with all the 700 plus videos on this channel and the 600 plus videos on the other channel. They got a lot to work with, don't they? I mean, it's over a terabyte now for the full video collection of mine. Assuming that I had them all transferred into that file. There may be some in the video mix that I have to sort through. But yeah, it's over a terabyte of storage. But yeah, you have Nelson getting exposed in May by Fox 13 News, Max Roth. Does an article, still on YouTube, because it's from Fox. It's not somebody recording it. It's on Fox's channel. 32 billion were funneled through brand new LLC companies thanks to Orrin Hatch's tax bill for the poor. Which, yes, I'm being sarcastic, it wasn't for the poor. The poor got nothing from that but more deeper in debt and less money each year because of that tax bill. And so, yes, the church was who he was thinking of when he made that tax bill, and made sure to tell Trump that it was for the rich and him too. And it was, because that's how he was able to do it. You know, it wasn't for the church. LLC companies were the beneficiaries of the tax bill, and the church just started LLC companies. And that was the same time when Monson dies. He was on his deathbed since his birthday during the total solar eclipse. And yet, they were plotting behind his back, having his signature on certain documents, with Nelson in charge, because he's the president of the Apostles, Quorum of the 12. Irene and Uchtdorf were just counselors in the first presidency. You know, they had their assignments in the first presidency, but they couldn't give orders as Nelson could. But they weren't supposed to do anything until Monson died, and yet they still were. And then he dies, and then we find out in May, a month after conference, that they had formed LLC companies during the time of his death. At the beginning of the year, when the start of the tax bill benefited LLC companies, and they got $32 billion through all of them, and then they just funneled it right into the stock market. That's called money laundering, boys and girls. Can you say money laundering? When I heard him say a temple in Russia, I went into shock. It was before I did church history research, which was at the end of, well, no, I was in the process of it. Yeah. I think I may have published a couple of my research papers, my research notes, turned them into books to be published. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, I was already on track knowing that Joseph Smith was assassinated by an inside job, and was working on Scottish Rite stuff with the Illuminati. I didn't know I didn't have the connection yet at that time, and I wasn't doing much in the regards to research anyway, because that's also when I was I was being dumped again by another wife during that whole time period. Yeah. Well, anyway. And so it was very clear what he was doing in conference. Putin had funneled to him $32 billion and still wanted him to do other things in order to get the temple in Russia. And so Nelson began to destroy the church. That's what it's called when you completely change it from the will of God. It is not God's will to take away the high priest group, because section 76 of the Doctrine and Covenants says that's essential for exaltation. Elders are not essential to exaltation. You can't go. If that's all you get and you're not good enough for a high priest, you don't go. None of this Mormon myth crap about, oh, I'm going to repent in the afterlife and then I can be exalted because Jesus will just slap me on the wrist and let me in. It's like you've never even read your own Book of Mormon, Mormons. And yet Mormons still said, no, he didn't do away with it. He just sent the high priest into the elders' quorum. Yeah. And who are the ones dying from coronavirus? The most susceptible to it? Oh yeah, the high priests. The ones that are old. And yes, it's because they're preparing to restore polygamy again. And I've gone over that back in 1978. They didn't restore the priesthood because they wanted to. They restored the priesthood because they got a quid pro quo with America to drop the Edmunds-Tucker Act that same year. And so yes, with coronavirus, it's exterminating people. And why? Well, Trump's now saying it escaped from a lab. Did it escape? Is that how Trump he always tells the truth right at the first? No. We've seen it time and time again. You're locking up babies in cages. No, we're not. We don't know anything about that. We don't know that guy. To, oh yeah, well, I hardly know him. And then eventually, oh, yeah, so what? Get over it. Deal with it. That's how they work. That's how they've been working this whole time. They'll lie, and then they'll lie about lying, and they'll lie about lying about lying. And then they'll tell you the truth and say, so what? Deal with it. Everybody does it. Who cares? Who's going to stop us? And you wonder, well, why didn't you just tell us in the first place if nobody was going to stop you anyway? See, because the coronavirus started off with, oh, it's those wet markets. All those diseases, and they've done it before. And everybody's forgotten now that China kept it a secret from everybody. They didn't tell anybody that it was going on. They kept it a secret. And then it wasn't until that optometrist, the eye doctor, who got caught with coronavirus because of one of his patients, and then he leaked a video on the social media channel. And then people found out about it. And China was forced to say, all right, fine, we'll report it on this last day of December. But we're not telling you when it started, and we're going to hope you've forgotten all about Kim Jong-un saying he was going to send a Christmas present to America. What was that Christmas present, by the way? The only thing we got from over there was coronavirus. And it came out just about that time, around Christmas time, that China purposely won't tell us. Refuse to let anybody in. Then you have that South Korean Christian apocalyptic group, who just happened to be right there at the center when it broke out. And then they just happened to catch flights out of China to all over the world to spread it. South Korea, last I heard, was suing, but I haven't heard since then as to what that case has been doing. And then, of course, Trump. That's a hoax. I don't know that guy. No, it's a virus. Yeah, whatever. I don't know him. I take pictures with lots of people. He's a pedophile. I hardly knew him. You're at a party with him. You're with 14-year-old girls. Yeah, I take pictures with lots of people. And now he's dead in jail, so nobody else can get busted. Anyway. But you see where we're going with this? Trump caused it, and caused it to spread. Caused it to escalate by refusing to give the necessary medical equipment, by refusing to shut it down, shut everything down. This could have been solved, resolved, and gone instantly had we all stayed home from the beginning. 2 weeks. That's it. That's all we would have had to have done. Not leave our homes for 2 weeks as we make sure that it's gone, eradicated. But nope, it's a hoax. Keep going to work. Keep socializing. I'm holding my Trump rallies. You know he's killing his own loyalists. When he's telling people to drink bleach, who's going to believe him? Only his loyalists, his followers. He's killing you guys, if any of you guys are watching. And then you have Nelson, who's already been exposed as working with the Russians, who's betraying the church, who's a traitor to America. And what does he do in January? Calls up, say, hey, can we help? If you do us a favor, though, we would like a temple in Shanghai. Yeah, you can send us some masks. But we'll need you to do some more favors for us, though. Does Nelson give anybody in America or in the Mormon church masks? Oh, yeah, recently. After it's too late. After it's already escalated, gotten out of control, and just a freight train running. He's a medical doctor. He knows how viruses work. He knows why babies get shots when they're born. And yet, do you need me to remind you of what he did? It's still on the church website. The COVID-19 updates. You can see the different dates of when they were updated. And you can see some back into March. I think there's even some back into February, isn't there? He purposely did a slow closure. As a medical doctor, he knew damn well you need to shut everything immediately. He didn't. He purposely did a slow closure, exposing Mormons, knowingly exposing Mormons to the virus, the dead Mormons. All of the dead on the website, which should be available now for yesterday's numbers, all on him. The leader of the church and a medical doctor. And he did a slow closure. When I was saying right from the beginning, he needs to shut it down. Don't just close church for this Sunday and wait to see for the next. Close it down. Close the temples. In temples, he hesitated. Missions, he hesitated. And I was saying, they need to come home. Need to shut everything down. I'm not a medical doctor, but I knew better than someone in the profession themselves. And so then we have Herbert, Mormon boy, governor of Utah. Again, altering the numbers, purposely keeping them low to make it seem like all is well in Zion. How much more evidence do you need, people? He just opened up businesses again. And some businesses have to close now, despite opening. They're just not getting the customers because people are sick and dying. They want food rather than antiques. That's the one store that was caught in the news this morning that I told you about. So yes, I am furious. I am furious with Judge First, who on her last day does nothing with my lawsuit. Just abandons me. I had it won. The church lawyers were crap and needed to be disbarred for their blatant disregard for the courts. And for the confidence because of the position that their client holds in Utah and in the world. They literally think that they can put out crap and still win a case. Because that's what they showed in their motion to dismiss. And I went over that video. So don't you be thinking Nelson's innocent in all of this. He may be keeping his social distance, but he may have also gotten the vaccine for him and his apostles. But they're rich enough that they don't need to interact with anybody. So there you go. There's the Nelson connection.